So recently I picked up a mini PC with a bunch of emulators and ISOs on it because I'm not a Nintendo YouTuber, I'm a mini PC and emulation guy. I recently sold a big chunk of my collection off because I was tired of it just sitting on the shelves because, well, it was never about just looking pretty on a shelf, it was always about the game. So purchasing something like this made a whole lot of sense to me. Yes, I am going to review the mini PC and setup eventually, but you have to have all of the different components when you're talking about something like this, and one of the main things is controllers. You want a somewhat realistic experience when you're playing these games, at least I do. So I picked up a bunch of fake Nintendo controllers from various consoles, from the NES all the way up to the GameCube. I figured that would give me a good litmus test. But how are these controllers? How do they function? They're a fraction of the price of the Nintendo official controllers. They're all USB based and they're all fake. They're all knockoffs. But are there any gems within these controllers? Are any of these controllers actually good? That's what we're going to find out in today's video. So if this is your first time here on the channel, welcome. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share. Hit the bell notification as well. But without any further ado, let's take a look at my mini PC in action and review some fake Nintendo controllers.
All right, so first off on the docket, we're going to be taking a look at the USB controller for NES gaming. I'm very excited to check this out. All right, so here's our NES USB controller. As you can see here, I have Launchbox up on my mini PC, which is on a portable monitor. This whole new little setup I have here. RetroPie, NES emulators, Raspberry Pi, Mac, Windows PC. Okay, so it's covering all our bases here. Connected by a standard USB 2.0 USB port. No extra driver, just plug and play. Simple use. The shape is designed. I don't care about any of this. I don't care about any of this. Like I said, I bought all of these off of Amazon. They all came within like 1 day shipping. I am ruining this box. I am absolutely destroying this. Look, we got two controllers, folks. We have two NES controllers. I mean, I'm just going to take one of them out. First impressions, you know, it's not bad. Like, it looks like an NES controller. There's raised lettering on these buttons. I don't like that. The back of it feels really weird. It's like a really weird plasticky feeling. Like, it doesn't feel like an NES controller, if that makes any sense as far as the back of it is concerned. But I guess, you know, it looks the part. The D-pad feels all right. The buttons feel pretty responsive. A feels good. B feels good. I just don't really care for that raised lettering. But let's go ahead and plug this bad boy in and check it out and see how it actually functions. Alrighty, so we're checking out a little Super Mario Brothers 3 here. I mean, you know, this isn't really the hardest game in the world to control, but I do feel like this is sort of a good indicator of if the controller is any good, because, you know, you have movement, you have the flying, you have the button tapping. It feels fine, honestly. You know, it is a little strange how the buttons are a bit raised, and I'm not great at this game. Let's get that out of the way. If I get hit by something, I do not care because I'm not an expert. See, I'm not an expert in this game. This was not a game I had as a kid, so, I mean, as an adult, I played it and beat it, but, you know, it feels like an NES controller should feel. I do, you know, the D-pad doesn't have any sort of grip on it, though. It's smooth. It's completely smooth, which is kind of weird to me because I feel like, you know, in an intense setting that that could actually make for a bit of a bad time. But all things considered, the price I paid for this, I believe it was like $9 or $10 for the two controllers. I could be wrong. I'll flash it on the screen now. You know, not bad. Next up, we have the Retro Flag, the classic USB controller, obviously designed for the Super Nintendo. USB and turbo. I believe this one was around $15. I don't know. I probably should have looked it up before talking about this stuff. Raspberry Pi, Windows 10, Windows 8, and Windows 7. Very windowy here. Switch, Xinput, Dinput, and that's always good to know. Tech specs here, dimensions, so working conditions, special features. I mean, it's a Super Nintendo controller made by Retro Flag. So Retro Flag, if I like your controller, you might get some new customers. If I don't like your controller, well, you're just in trouble, Buster. You're in trouble. Okay, I like that. They put a little plastic here. I already like this controller way better than the NES controller because, see, grip. We have grip on the D-pad. Here's our button layout. Buttons feel pretty nice. Start and select. Trigger buttons. I am liking this. There's a grip. There's a texture on the back of this, which is completely non-existent on the NES controller. Retro Flag, you're doing good. But how do you control? Do you play my Street Fighter 2 Alpha well on the Super Nintendo? Yes, that's what we're going to play because I like that version of the game. I don't care what you have to say. Let's find out. All right, so we are in Street Fighter Alpha 2. I will say, I don't know, I'm not really feeling the D-pad all that much. Like, it's okay, but it's definitely on the stiff side. Like, the Super Nintendo D-pad, it has like a nice roll to it, you know? And I feel like this one doesn't. Now, that could just be because of the fact that this is a new controller, so it, like, needs a second to be broken in. But, like, I actually lost the first round of this, and I was kind of embarrassed, and I was like, I'm not going to show that on video. So I just, I redid it for the second round. And now we're going to win the third round here because I'm still pissed off that this guy, essentially from Canada, because he's my buddy guy, beat me in the first round. Maybe I just had to get used to it. But I will say this D-pad does feel a bit on the stiff side. It could be broken in over time, but I don't love it. I don't love the D-pad. I might actually look for, you know, it did a lot of things right, but I just feel like the stiffness of the D-pad is a bit of a turnoff. And there might be people who like it, you know, nice and stiff. If you like it nice and stiff, dude, like, do not let me get in the way of what you enjoy. But just like for me, like I'm having trouble throwing basic moves. Like I was trying to do a hyper combo finish there, but I just couldn't. I don't know. Maybe it just needs to be broken in a bit, but for me, it is a little bit on the stiff side. But let's go ahead and check out some of the more advanced controllers now, because I feel like that's where things are going to get really interesting. This one, I'm very interested to see how it works. This is the USB Classic N64 Controller, Genesis, transparent green, new. Okay. Alrighty, so here's the Classic Controller N64, USB Classic N64 Control, Genesis, transparent green, new. I don't have much faith for this controller. Once again, it wasn't super expensive. I don't recall how much it was. I'll flash it up on the screen. I'm not reading all of this. This is talking about emulators and stuff like that. Connector, C key, D-pad, precise buttons. Okay. Yeah, you know, N64 controllers are tough. And I do have other controllers to play N64 games, like the Retro Fighters controllers and stuff. But for the sake of this video, I just wanted like a quote-unquote authentic-ish N64 controller. Just to see, okay, we got a backup stick. That's kind of cool. Just to see like how good it is and to see if we can replicate that experience. Warning, cancer and reproductive harm. Literally, look at that. I'm gonna get cancer from this video, so you better like and subscribe. Okay, the shell doesn't feel bad. Ooh, that's a nice D-pad. It's honestly not terrible. All right, really, this is something we're just gonna have to see in motion. Doesn't have the Nintendo logo on it, but honestly, I don't think it feels that bad. I actually expected this to feel a hell of a lot worse. But of course, we got to see how it actually plays games. So let's check that out. All right, so we're going to check out, I mean, one of the best games on the N64 with Super Mario 64. Honestly, I'm pretty surprised at how good this controller actually feels. I didn't expect it to feel that good. I will say I did have to do some binding on it, meaning that I had to actually set this controller up. The NES and the Super NES controllers, they were just plug and play. The emulators automatically like knew what I was looking for. But with this, I had to set it up manually. Not a big deal. I do think I messed up one thing setting it up, but that's fine. That's user error, folks. It's not the end of the world. But let's just, you know, mess around in here. I mean, the stick actually feels like really good. It's a little small. Like, I feel like the stick should have been a little bit like fatter, like a little bit wider. But I do feel like, you know, this is actually pretty decent.
Now, Sean, tell me this isn't the way you hold the N64 controller. Please tell me it's only for the video. Because what is this? What are you doing? Are you throwing a cupcake or something? You're supposed to hold it like you're taking a piss or something. I don't know.
If I had to be honest, I would say that this, I mean, I do have to be honest. It's a channel about controllers. or a video about controllers. I think this might be my favorite controller thus far. I think it feels good. Everything works as it should. Just I wish the control stick was a little bit bigger. But if I'm looking for that authentic N64 experience, this is definitely providing it. So shocking, absolutely shocking that if I had to put, you know, rankings on them right now, the N64 controller is in the lead, but that is not the last controller that we have, folks. No. Let's check out the GameCube. And finally, we have this monstrosity, the wired GC style controller for Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Switch OLED does work with PC, so let's check this one out. All right, so here's our GameCube controller made by TW. Joystick with 60-degree angle, curved palm with vibration. Great for Super Smash Brothers. Wired GameCube style controller, you know, Switch OLED. Looks okay. I don't like all these buttons in the middle here. I honestly don't have very high hopes for this controller. I think this controller, if I had to pick, like just based on aesthetics, what was going to be the worst one, like this packaging is extremely crummy. Like look at it. I'm not a strong person by any stretch of the imagination, but like I could rip this packaging with 2 fingers. And that's not really, you know, the biggest deal. Oh God. Oh God in heaven. Okay. Yeah, so there's a weird feeling to it. The plastic doesn't feel right. Like it's a dull, but then it's like shiny around these buttons. I feel like I'm picking it up on camera here. That doesn't feel terrible. That doesn't feel terrible. You know, these triggers stink. I don't like these triggers are too small. They are smaller than a standard GameCube trigger. So that's not great. The D-pad's okay-ish. I don't know. Something just feels off with this controller. Something feels wrong with this controller. And maybe it's because it's designed for the Switch, because we have the screen capture here and the home button here so that we could go back on our Nintendo Switch. But I don't know, man. Something feels off about this controller. But, you know, feelings don't mean anything. If it plays good, then who cares? So let's check it out. All right, so this was actually recognized as an Xbox 360 controller on Windows, which, I mean, it doesn't really mean anything, but it did make it so that it was very easy to set up with the Dolphin emulator. I just had to choose this controller over what it wanted to default as, and then it just automatically selected. It had all the buttons already mapped properly, which I thought was super cool. We're checking out Street Hoops, because Street Hoops is the best game on the GameCube, and, I mean, not really. And I don't even remember how to play this game, but I like this game. You know, the controls seem to be fine, honestly. How do I dunk? How you juke? I lied. I don't like these triggers here. These triggers stink. The triggers up here stink. They're absolutely terrible. And if you have a game that relies heavily on these triggers, you're not going to have a good time. Yeah, that white dude, though, he got a score. Dude, this game is so underrated, by the way. Like, I don't even care about the controller. I just wanted an example so I could show you guys Street Hoops. And it's also on the PlayStation 2. I think it's on the Xbox as well. Everyone remembers the And One Street game, but they don't remember Street Hoops. Street Hoops is better. Anyways, controller review. Look at my white guy. He's very efficient in the lane. Like, it's okay. I don't like this plastic that they use. The plastic feels very cheap. The trigger buttons, I can't get over how bad and how much I don't like them. That dude, come on, 3 in the key, buddy. Yeah, double. You got friggin' pounded there. And obviously, you know, the additional buttons are for Switch use, so you can have the home menu and all that sort of stuff. That's fine. I feel like there are better alternatives for the GameCube, though, you know, as far as a controller that, you know, has a more realistic style to it. Ooh, sweet. Nice little layup there. I feel like I have to hit a button to do a dunk, like a specific button, and I don't know what it is, so, you know, good luck to me. But yeah, not a terrible controller, but like I said, these triggers, they're just cheap. They're extremely cheap, and really they're too small for this controller. So let's go ahead and wrap things up after I bust this 3 with White Boy. Yes, sir.
So overall, I would have to say the N64 controller was probably the best one. I feel like it just did its job, and it did its job well. You know, the analog stick was a bit small for my liking. I feel like it could have been bigger, but I feel like that was probably the best overall controller in terms of use and functionality. As far as the worst one is concerned, I don't really know that there was a worse one. The other three controllers all sort of had their own sort of problems. The D-pad was definitely way too stiff on the Super Nintendo controller. The trigger buttons on the GameCube controller were just terrible. The NES controller, I just didn't like the way it felt, so I probably wouldn't recommend any of those controllers, honestly, because I feel like there probably are some better alternatives. But if you are in the market for an N64 controller and you don't mind a small stick, which, I mean, your girl doesn't mind a small stick because she's with you, right? Ooh, I'm gonna make some people mad with that. Definitely check out the N64 controller. I thought it was the best of the bunch, and it's probably the one I'll use the most. Let me know in the comment section down below if you guys want more videos like this. Like I said, I'm an emulation guy. I'm a PC gaming guy, I guess now. Mini PCs, but then I bought a big PC too. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. This is a tailspin. Everything's out of control. But you know what? I like it. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, like I said at the start, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share. Hit the bell notification as well. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.